Monty faces D'Lo. It must be a winner. Monty wins. That's pretty much it.
There must be a winner, and there was.
Yeah, D'Lo jumped off the stage onto Monty into the crowd. Then D'Lo missed the swanton. I think the idea might have been he was going for a low down, but actually rolled through. I'm not entirely sure. Pounced through a table. Monty won.
And there was a winner.
There was a definitive winner, and it was the alpha male Monty Brown. So the following week, we'll talk about D'Lo because he wraps up here. The following week, Mike TNA interviews D'Lo Brown. And like the way this interview starts, it's really weird. It feels like it's foreshadowing a heel turn. Or he looks disinterested in TNA. He looks like he wants the interview to be over any second now. And then as the interview goes on, it like pivots. Where D'Lo's like, 5.5 months ago, my baby girl was born. And it completely changed my perspective on wrestling. And I'm just not into this anymore at the moment.
It's just like, I don't care about wrestling now.
Yeah, every time I have to go away from my kid to wrestle, all I'm thinking about is how I can get back to my kid. And then he's like, Mike, you're a granddad, aren't you? And it's like, yeah, she calls me Papa.
And he's like, that face you just made? That's why.
Yeah. And like, this is the end of D'Lo Brown in TNA, the last match we will see of his until the Aces and Eights. And I kind of loved it as a write-off.
It was weird, but like, it was a very real reason for someone to stop caring about pro wrestling.
Yeah. And it weirdly contextualizes D'Lo's recent, like, half-assed run in a way that almost made sense from a character's perspective.
Wow, I didn't even think about that, but that does make sense too.
That's just like, he's aimless and wandering around the card because he's aimless. He doesn't care about this right now. And I just think, like, dude wants to be with his daughter is such a fun little way to write off a wrestling character. It's so different.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I quite enjoy that.
Because, like, I was sitting down watching the segment, it's like, oh, the vibe of this is weird. They're doing a D'Lo heel turn, and then by the end of it, it's like a really nice little emotional segment between Mike TNA and D'Lo's like, my flight's in an hour, and I want to go catch it. And that's the last we see of D'Lo, and he just goes home to his daughter. I kind of love it.
So Garrett.
Yeah.
The D'Lo Brown run.
Mm-hmm.
How do we feel about it? How do we feel about it if we were going to grade it on a school grading level?
I think he's had some good matches, particularly the AJ matches and the tag team matches with AJ. Like in 2003, he did some good stuff. And in 2004, he's just felt, anytime he showed up, which has been pretty sporadically, he's felt like just a complete non-factor, irrelevant part of the show. So I had a lot of hope when he arrived. He cut that great promo. He's the first guy to do like the I jumped promo. You know, the fuck Vince, I'm in TNA, this is the future. He's the first guy to do that. And he did a great promo. And then he lost to Jarrett, and then he kind of slowly slipped down the pecking order. But then he found some life with AJ, where he had good matches with AJ and had great tag team matches with AJ, teaming with AJ.
That first tag run of theirs was really quite tremendous.
Yeah, the great chemistry as a tag team, a lot of fun, as just a random two dudes thrown together for no reason whatsoever.
And I appreciate that they kept like going back to it in a way. Like, they didn't just leave that run as its own separate thing. They were like, yeah, these guys are boys, and they will occasionally team up afterwards.
And actually, as it turns out, his last match, it didn't air. It was a dark match at Impact, but it was teaming with AJ.
Oh, that's cute.
Which he did after this one, actually. But after this promo with Mike TNA. So, yeah, I'd put him in like a C.
Yeah, my instinct was C-, just because it was a disappointing run. Because when he came in, he did feel so hot. Like, he felt like a big deal that maybe he could be like a top main event level guy for them. But he never, like, even though he was in those positions, I don't think he ever had the sustainability to really feel like a legitimate payoff to it.
Yeah. And, like, it's tough because, you know, one of his priorities was working All Japan. So he just never had the consistency in TNA. He was always in and out.
Well, you could argue there that, like, maybe that is the responsibility of the company to lock the dude down then. If you feel like he can be a guy to that level. Which it seemed like he could have, especially early on. Which
is the thing they did do with Christopher Daniels.
Yeah. So it's like... It's not like it was a completely unprecedented thing to be like... Get this guy locked down so you have him whenever you want him.
But yeah. He falls under the classic TNA. It's a story of what could have been. As a guy who came in who's like a great wrestler with great like charisma. who could have been maybe not a difference maker. I don't think like the story of D'Lo Brown, like the best case scenario here is that he takes TNA to new heights.
I agree. Like it's not, I don't think he was going to be John Moxley for AEW, but I do think comparable to the level at which TNA was, he could have been a difference maker there. Like I don't think it was going to explode them to like number 2 company in the world, but I do think he could have been a money drawing guy for them.
I think like the best potential comparison he could have been was Raven. Like he could have been a Raven.
Yeah. And having another Raven on this crew is not a bad thing, you know?
No, there's not a lot of stars around here these days.
And especially going into TV, right? To have like a third recognizable top star that feels like that could have been a way bigger deal.
And like, I do think people have like, particularly these days, but like even back then, I think pretty strong feelings for D'Lo. Like he was a pushed act, well, not quite a pushed act, but he was a featured actor in the Attitude Era.
I think D'Lo's one of those mid-card WWE guys that you just kind of like fall in love with. Like, you know, like with me talking about Christian and Jericho and Edge, like from the era that I was watching them. Like RVD, like those guys were like mid-card runs that I like you fall in love with, right? It feels like he was like kind of in a similar like thing where it's like, you know, the Eurocontinental title stuff, you're into it, you know? You like this guy because in an era where there wasn't a lot of like actual good wrestling, he was a dude who stood out.
And you look at the stuff he did this year, where like he just showed up on Impact, you know, beating the hell out of Honor No More a couple times. Crowds lost their shit. Those clips went wild online. Like people like D'Lo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a story of what it could have been, but as I said, I really like how they wrote him off. I thought it was a really charming, different thing to do.
It feels weird because just in the context of the show, it feels like just yesterday he showed up.
And he got this big promo about how like Styles has reinvigorated his passion recently about how he's going to chase the NWA title, and then like 3 weeks later he's like, I have no passion for this, I want to leave.